welcome to Horror Movie Yearbook. I am Tim.
I am Willie.
We have some fun stuff coming up. You want to talk about it off the top? Oh, real quick, I want to just real quick. I encouraged your daughter, her newfound. She loves drumming. Apparently,
she does.
Yeah,
she does love drumming. Yep.
Before I got as I got here, and I told her, keep working on it and make sure you do it. You want to do it early in the morning, as early as possible.
You said that? The fuck, dude. What are you doing?
I said you got.
We already earned the explicit tag because of your behavior.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
I said you have to get up. If you're going to be serious about something, you have to get up before school and practice every day.
Did you really say that to her?
No, I didn't say that. Sorry. I'm just joking. Your wife told me that. Nikki, people know Nikki. She told me that she got up quite early the other day and did it. And
she wanted to hit the skins, man. Look, hey, she loves drumming.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I do encourage it. I do think it should start after like 10 a.m. probably.
Yeah, I think so. After you've had your first cup of coffee, at least.
Yeah, and it's loud. That's like a kid's set, but it's like a legit set.
I was gonna say that looks pretty legit.
It's legit.
It's not like a plastic like. Boom,
no,
boom, boom.
it's like a drum set. Mm-hmm. It's loud. And I'd imagine you can probably hear it from outside to a certain extent.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. So yeah, very funny. Thanks, pal.
I've got my red stripe here because we're talking about Masque of the Red Death.
Yes. How much of that did you have before you told my daughter to hit the drums? Before
Zero.
See, that's scary. That's scary.
Someday you'll be able to tell my son terrible things for him to do.
Yes.
As if he hasn't already done that.
I plan on it. Yeah. He would have covered all the bases by that point. Your son little man don't play.
No, he does not.
No.
He's he plays. But,
he plays.
Yeah,
he plays hard.
Yeah, he does. I was out there breaking sticks with him today. He was helping me out. It was quite funny.
Did he love it?
What's that?
Did he love it?
Oh my gosh, he kept like taking little sticks and putting them in the bag with me because we had a big tree fall and we're still breaking down the sticks.
When you can find, I love this for you. When you can find those little things. Mm-hmm. So that's a great example of like an early like we're working together thing.
Mm-hmm.
Encourage that shit early.
Yes.
This is for all those, I guess, I don't know. This is my unsolicited advice. Encourage that stuff. Because I've reached the point now where, like, Nikki in the afternoon goes, I need to lay down for like a half hour. I'm exhausted. Like,
yeah.
Okay, cool. Take a nap. I had to finish power washing the driveway. I had to finish it. I had like 3 or 4 slabs left. I had to do it. It was going to kill me if I didn't finish this, right? Josie goes, I want to go garden. I'm a cowboy, and I want to be a cowboy gardener.
Absolutely.
Sweet. She wore a rainbow cowboy hat. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. And so, well, I'm going to power wash, so I put some headphones on her, so it's loud.
Yes.
And she kind of like putzes around in the garden for a little bit, and then like goes in the house by herself, and I go, all right. And then she comes out with a stack of books and goes and sits in her garden and starts reading to herself.
Yeah.
This rules. But that's what it evolves from. Because like it becomes like, I'm going to help you do your project. And then they kind of go like, I don't really want to do that. I just want to be around you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fine.
He was helping me, and then the neighbor's dog came out, and he's like, "Screw you!" Like
yeah,
I'm going to stare at this dog and scream at this dog.
This dog is sweet.
The sticks are yours. Buddy.
Have you seen this dog? Can I pet that dog? Yeah.
Anyway, we wanted to announce something real quick.
Yes, let's do it. Off the top.
Yeah, we are going to start our summer series next episode. And
we had, I think, an amazing run of summer series.
Yeah, it was Cronenberg last year, right? And I think that
Cronenberg?
Yeah, if you haven't, that is on our podcast feed, obviously. It's on YouTube. It's on Spotify. Go back and check out those Cronenberg episodes because I think they're really good stuff.
I think our summer series are some of our best stuff.
Me too. Yes.
We did Summer Scream.
Yep.
We did Summer Scream. And we did another summer series at one point, too.
Was The Walking Dead no, I believe, or not The Walking Dead, the
Living Dead, I think,
Romero
was a summer.
Yeah, there was summer or fall, because we led up to the book review, too. I thought that was a really good
We have a good time with those things. So, yeah.
When we do series, like not that anything else is bad, but like our series stuff is, I think,
they tend
usually
to stand out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we are going to be talking about. So we're planning on doing an instant reaction.
Yes.
That will hopefully hit the feeds and YouTube this weekend. because we are planning, as of right now, to go see In a Violent Nature.
In a Violent Nature, yes.
Yes, we're gonna
a lot of buzz behind this one.
Yep. We're going to go see it Saturday night.
Yep.
Is the plan.
This is a, for those that don't know, this is a film that's coming out in, I think, not a super limited release, but a somewhat limited release. It'll be coming out on Shudder after
a couple months after. Yeah. Well, actually, I don't think they've announced a date for it on Shudder. It will
be hitting Shudder at some point. This is IFC Films. Or IFC Midnight? I don't know. Whatever.
Probably Midnight is their kind of genre banner. Yeah.
And this is a slasher film, kind of a classic style slasher film. In the woods, young adults out there getting up to probably no good, and a masked killer is stalking and killing them. The difference, of course, with this one is that the film is largely shown from not the first-person perspective of the killer. It's not like an Elijah Wood Maniac situation. This is like more of an over-the-shoulder. The camera angle is like Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Right?
Like it seems like it, yeah.
The more recent Resident Evil games. Following the killer as they stalk and kill these characters. There's no score. So this whole thing sounds very experimental, very artistic.
Yeah.
I think you and I both are kind of on the same page where it's like, this sounds really interesting, but also I could wind up going,
we were talking about that.
I'm more excited for this than I am for like movies I think where I go and going, I'm gonna
like that. Yeah.
I'm gonna like this.
I'm like, there's a nervous excitement to this because I'm like, am I going to get into this movie in like 20 minutes and be like, what did I do? Why am I here? Do I want to see it?
And we're seeing it at like 10 o'clock.
Yes. I'm hoping we see this with a good crowd, like a good, like younger crowd.
I don't think it's going to be any crowd. I think there's a good chance one of the two of us falls asleep.
Yeah.
During the walking simulator. Can we make a
well, it's a movie theater in 2024, so the odds are it's going to be no crowd.
Yes.
Judging by the box
right.
Yeah.
Can we make a vow right now?
Yeah.
If you hear me snoring, will you please just tap me when something starts happening?
Absolutely.
If I hear you snoring, I will also do the same for you. Do you want that? I guess I should ask.
I have. I'll say this though. I got myself an iced coffee. Oh, I got one iced coffee left. I'm saving it for Saturday. Yeah, I'm saving it.
Where are you gonna hide it?
I'll just drink it before. I'll pound it before, and then I'll get myself a Diet Pepsi or Coke or whatever.
So you'll be set.
I'll miss half of the movie because I'll be peeing the entire time.
Right. Yeah. So I'll have to do some sort of.
Everybody keeps these reviews because now I've started to read it. Everybody keeps pointing to one kill, and I do not want to miss it. Like they're pointing out one kill in the movie.
Yes, the yoga kill I've heard.
Okay.
That's all I've heard. The yoga kill. Everybody's saying it's like, holy smokes, I've never seen that in my life. So I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I'm nervous because, like you said, I don't know what to expect. But that will be we're doing an episode proper as well on that.
Or do you want to do a proper too?
Or just want to do the initial reactions? Let's see.
We'll
figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But because we're gonna do sorry.
No. Yeah. So that'll be kicking off kind of a summer series for us, which we've been trying to define a little bit. We don't want to call it like backwoods horror. I think we settled on what? Woodsy slasher?
Woodsy slasher, I think.
Slashers in the woods. And we've got some fun ones planned for you guys.
It could be because we kicked around the idea of summer camp,
but
I think that's too limiting.
It's too, yeah.
But I think if we do like backwoods, like slasher in the woods, we can do stuff like The Burning, and we can do stuff like Sleepaway Camp. But we can also mix in stuff like maybe we talk about One of the Hatchets, or maybe we talk about what's the Wrong Turn? Maybe we talk about the Joe Lynch one.
Right.
Yeah.
We have not settled exactly on which films we're doing. I will say I think it's a pretty safe bet to say we will be doing The Burning at some point in the series.
I think The Burning and Sleepaway Camp. One of the sequels. Now,
we've covered The Burning before. We talked about this ahead of time. This was back when we were doing 3 movies an episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we've revisited stuff like that before. I think there's a precedent for this. Because some movies deserve a little expansion.
Yeah.
And I think The Burning is
one of them.
I do, legitimately. Yeah. And I think we've done a commentary for Sleepaway Camp, the original. But we both are fans of the sequels as well. And so we want to cover one of those. So those 2 are guarantees for you guys.
Yeah.
The rest of it, we're working out.
We might work it. Figure it out as it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna do some backwoods slashing.
Yes,
Backwoods
all
slasher,
summer long. Yeah, As
all summer long.
Kid Rock would say.
Ew.
Speaking of backwoods.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
The less said, the better.
Yeah, especially now.
Indeed.
Yeah. Game nerds are talking about a game. The Midwest Game Nerds you can find anywhere you get your podcasts. Yep. They're talking about a game called Lorelai and the Laser Eyes.
Okay.
I believe this is a Gilmore Girls video game.
Yeah. So this is actually a sequel to Year in the Life. Or whatever yeah. And Lorelai, she was pregnant as we last left her. It turns out that her baby was actually an alien. Mm-hmm. She was impregnated by an alien, and so now she's getting some sort of alien powers.
So the baby, and they call
the baby being inside of her is actually giving her
giving Lorelai the baby's powers.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
No, that was Rory that was pregnant. Let's move on.
You know what? No, wait. So what happened was...
Yeah, let's hear it. Yep.
Rory got pregnant, and she gained with an alien baby.
Yes.
Because she couldn't decide who she wanted to be her... So she decided on an alien. One of the guys was an alien.
Yeah.
And
we don't know which one, though. That's part of the twist, is who's going to be the alien.
And her granddaughter, they named her Laser Eyes. Kind of like Bright Eyes from Planet of the Apes movies when they call Bright Eyes. It's Laser Eyes.
But she can shoot lasers.
Yes.
Or he.
Yeah, it was not the most... For such a witty show, it was not a very clever name.
No.
They just went with what they saw.
Yes.
And it's Cyclops. It's Cyclops from the X-Men.
Absolutely. This is exactly what the game is about. You can play as Lorelai, Rory, or the baby with the laser eyes.
It's just like the X-Men arcade game. Yeah.
If you finish the game in under 2 hours, you actually unlock Luke with laser eyes.
Yes, but he plays his character from Saw.
Yes. Agent Strom.
I'm really happy you remembered his name. I couldn't remember his name.
Got it. Peter Strom. How do I remember that?
I don't know.
I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. I'm going to be a mess in a year.
You're going to be on
2, 3.
Someday you'll be on your deathbed. I'm going to come visit you. You'll die before me.
Probably. Agent Peter Strom.
Uncle Willie. It's been such a ride. You go, remember Scott Patterson's name?
Not Scott Patterson, right? Is that his name?
is Luke is Scott Patterson, right?
Scott Patterson, yeah.
You remember who he played in Saw?
I don't remember the actor's name, but Agent Peter Strom. I love that.
That's how I'll always remember you. And then the Sarah
That's
McLachlan
beautiful. Well, you make sure my headstone has a portrait of Agent Peter Strom.
Anything else?
No.
We want to talk about what the hell
weird.
did we get here? All right. Let's do this first then.
Okay.
Let's talk about Roger Corman recently passed.
Yes.
He's 97, I believe.
He's old.
Full career.
Yep.
How many movies he was involved with, whether it be writing, directing, producing, distributing, has been debated. I've seen people say 400. I've seen people say 500. I've seen people say 700.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
He has given breaks to people like Jack Nicholson and Martin Scorsese. James Cameron. Francis Ford Coppola. So, a fellow Detroiter. And someone who is not following the Corman model with his new movie at all. But he
very true.
Is a titan of genre film and just film in general, especially when it comes to the business side of things.
Yes.
And he left quite a legacy. The thing is, so with Corman, I'm not going to pretend to be a huge expert when it comes to Roger Corman. Sure. I have seen quite a few of his movies, and I think as a horror fan or just a genre fan in general, even if you are not a hardcore Cormanite, you have come across a Roger Corman movie, and I think
Cormanite, is that real?
It is.
Man, I like that.
And you can spot the trademarks, and you may even have some fond memories of them. He's done some really good stuff. I think we're going to talk about some of later on when we talk about the Masque of the Red Death. At least some very interesting stuff. He's also done a lot of schlock. I wanted to talk about, and Will, you can jump in whenever. I want to talk about some of my favorite, maybe not even favorite Corman movies, but stuff that stuck with me throughout his career, because I do think that's the best way to approach such a vast career because he did stuff in horror and romance and westerns and sci-fi. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the more memorable Corman movies, and chime in whenever you want.
Yeah, of course.
The first one here that I have is Rock and Roll High School.
Yeah.
Which I believe was a Corman produced picture.
Correct. Yes. The Ramones.
The Ramones giving some of the worst performances ever committed to film.
Yeah, but I think that's kind of on brand. Have you seen the Ramones live? Great, but also...
Have you seen the Ramones live?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Like videos.
Okay.
Yes, no, I've never. My dad has.
Yeah, you would have been because they died in the late 80s. He died in the late 80s, right?
Joey passed the. I think
or was it
the
early
first
90s?
pass. Early 90s, I believe.
Okay.
He was. Yeah, it was late enough for him to like. Yeah.
But yes,
I'm a U2 fan. But.
Rock. That's cool.
Classic. PJ Souls, I believe, is...
PJ Souls, in my opinion, at the height of her powers in this movie.
Oh, my.
I think she is...
By powers, you mean...
She is... Well, that's the... So, PJ Souls, everybody knows the scene from Halloween.
Of course.
Yes, but like that's kind of the fun thing about Rock and Roll High School. The funny thing about Rock and Roll High School, there's no nudity, there's not a lot of swearing, there's no real drug use. It's like a fun, like, 50s style, like sock hopping throwback, but in the 1970s.
Yeah, but it feels like it should be raunchier, but it's not. Like, it works. Yeah,
it's just a goofy kind of innocent. Like, isn't
fun
rock
movie.
And roll fun?
Fun movie, yeah, fun movie. Definitely a throwback to that time period for sure. Yep.
Dean Cundey shot the film.
Of course, longtime cinematographer for John Carpenter.
Yep.
And Spielberg.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Joe Dante and the Zucker brothers, who did the Airplane movies, I believe, were they Naked Gun as well? Were Zucker brothers Naked Gun?
Yes.
They also stepped in and shot a couple of scenes as well. So, like,
I mean,
yeah.
Unreal.
So Rock and Roll High School is the one that I want to talk about. Just a fun flick, and kind of Corman and the Ramones together. It's a perfect marriage when it comes to this kind of stuff.
You a Ramones fan?
I do like the Ramones.
Me too.
Yeah, and this is a perfect movie with the Ramones because, like, yeah, it's kind of simple and silly, but kind of fun. And
yeah, it's like most of their music.
Yes, yeah. There's nothing complicated about Ramones music.
Great.
Like, people use that as a criticism of them.
No, it's
like,
great.
No, I don't. Yeah, I know.
In and out in 2.5 minutes tops.
Yep. Catchy song.
Yep.
Get
Let's
out
go.
of there.
Yep.
Another movie real quick I want to talk about because I don't think it's one of the lesser known, but it's an older one too.
Sure.
And it's called Targets, and it stars Boris Karloff in one of his final roles, if not his final role. It's also directed by Peter Bogdanovich, who directed. He won Academy Awards or was nominated for like The Last Picture Show and Paper Moon. Another person that got his start under Roger Corman, and it is about like an aging horror movie star, and he gets caught up in a sniper massacre. And it's a really interesting kind of independent horror movie from that time period. I think it's like 68. And Boris Karloff was 80 years old at the time, and he was in really bad health. And he had to, like, in between takes, he would sit in his wheelchair and take puffs from an oxygen mask. And,
wow.
Yeah, then get up and act. So it's definitely worth checking out. And it's also got an early Jack Nicholson. This is where Jack Nicholson got his start when it came to Corman. And I should
what
mention.
Year was that? That was
I think it was like 68, 67, 68.
I was going to mention The Terror.
Yeah.
Good one. Yeah, 63.
63 is Terror.
Yes, and also Jack Nicholson.
Is he in it? Yeah.
Also Boris Karloff.
Yeah.
This one came on a one of those. Remember those like those DVD packs of like 50 movies in one pack, and it was like $20, and you're like, what a steal! I want to buy that. I got a couple of those before I realized what I was getting into, but The Terror was a standout. That and Hatchet for the Honeymoon.
Yeah,
both pretty good. But The Terror has an early Nicholson and late-ish Karloff, and
yes,
funny that they were together multiple times for Corman, I guess. But cool movie.
And then so I wanted to mention these real quick too because we talked about how we distributed some movies, but Boxcar Bertha and The Brood are two movies that he helped distribute. Boxcar Bertha is an early Scorsese movie.
Yep.
And The Brood is Cronenberg. And I think it was New World at the time because he had moved on from AIP and had started his own. And they brought Cronenberg's The Brood to the United States. And he would do that. Interesting guy when it came to that because he would bring like Fellini films to the United States. And yeah,
he's Corman is so weird because like he made like he was the classic like huckster.
Yep.
And there's a lot in the genre. Like Charles Band has been talked about as kind of that. Lloyd Kaufman. The horror genre has its hucksters, and I mean that like not as a diss, like as a compliment. Like
right.
It's an amazing. William Castle's another one who was kind of a huckster even before Corman.
Yep.
But no one in that kind of with that label, I guess, can be compared to Corman because Corman created so many auteurs and like exposed people to so many kind of incredible filmmakers as Corman. So it's funny because the guy knew the business. He knew how to make a buck, right?
Yes.
But he also clearly had an appreciation for the art of filmmaking.
Yes.
And like you don't see somebody that is able to appreciate both sides of things like Corman was. Mm-hmm. And I think it's lost. And I don't just mean that in filmmaking, I mean that like in life sometimes. Like
right.
He was able to understand like this is a business first and foremost, but also like if I can use the business to like give a voice and opportunity, I'm going to do that. So like that's pretty amazing.
Ron Howard's another one that got started, but it's basically like, I'm going to hire you. You can make this movie. Like I know you can make this movie. I'm going to give you freedom to make this movie. Make the movie. like that's it. And and you're not
going to have a lot of money.
Yes, you're not going to have a lot of money. You're not going to have a lot of time, but you're going to get your name on a movie. So for sure. And you're right. There is that marriage of kind of high art and commerce a lot of the time, or just art and commerce. Yeah. And I've always found that like tension very interesting. And I think sometimes it can lead to some of the more interesting, some of my favorite movies. And
agreed. Yeah.
A guy 100%. That I think that kind of embodies that spirit nowadays. I think James Gunn is kind of a good example of.
And I mentioned Lloyd Kaufman.
Yes.
He came from that kind of classic like schlock. You know,
Gunn is very good at like. Schmoozing's not the right word, but he's good at playing the game.
He understands. It seems like he understands what Hollywood's about, like what you need to do to get
it's a business.
Made. Yeah, but he also knows how to. He's a very good judge of talent, and he's a very good judge of when to pull your punches and when to go ahead and say, we're gonna get a little nuts here.
Yeah.
He's kind of a master of it. So
he's also very good at smuggling his own voice in big, giant tentpole movies, which is
the biggest.
Yes, which is an art in itself. I think. Yeah, and a lot of, as you can see, I mean, Scorsese and Cronenberg are two like very distinct voices.
Yeah, certainly different voices than James Gunn. But like comparable in the sense that they are able to. Mm-hmm. It's that cream rises to the top thing too, and like I don't like that saying because I don't think that's always the case,
right?
But in those cases it is, and Corman worked with like countless filmmakers, countless performers, and like, but he made more right calls in terms of like the people he worked alongside or like hired or gave opportunities to than like anybody else I can think of.
Yeah.
Ever. If you look at like the success rate of like his underlings or his proteges or whatever you want to call them, like holy smokes, you know, kind of amazing.
Next movie that I want to talk about here, I've got a couple more here.
Yes.
Slumber Party Massacre 2 was, I believe he produced, and he produced the first one too. Slumber is the driller killer with what's my name? Is it Illich?
Let's buzz.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, what am I thinking of? What's his name? Illich.
Attias.
Attias.
Right?
Yeah. Is it Attias Illich?
I think so.
I'm looking it up because he has that great.
Arias, Attias.
He has that
like
great vinyl.
Anias?
Yeah,
I
he's.
can't remember. It's interesting. It's like a Greek name, right?
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, this is I'm really mad that I can't.
Anyway, yeah, Let's Buzz. We've talked about this movie before in our best original songs, I believe it was, bracket.
Atanis.
I was close.
Yes.
Attias. Yeah, I was close.
Because he has that great record with the back with the cat. He's like,
yeah, he's got a cat. Yeah, yeah. It would sell today though.
Joe Bob was auctioning that off, and it went for so much money. And I went, man, if I had the money, that would be a really stupid thing. I would absolutely buy.
Nice.
The Atanis Illich album
for sure. I sold my first eBay item.
Yeah.
By the way.
Oh, there you go. Good.
I did good. I spent $30 on it.
Yeah.
Sold it for over $300.
Good.
Yay me. Anyway, it was not Atanis Illich's LP.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this movie's fun.
This
pure fun.
This movie is a movie I watched either middle school or high school with some of my best friends, and we still quote it to this day. We still sing.
Was Joe there?
It was Joe and Matt, and we still quote it to this day.
What a crew!
And we still sing, "I wanna be your Tokyo convertible."
So, is it possible? Do you think there's a chance that I could watch this film with you and Joe and Matt ever?
Matt's going to be tough.
Matt, okay.
Because Matt's in a different part of the country.
Me and you and Joe.
Yes, we could do a remote thing, but Joe would absolutely be down to watch Slumber Party Massacre.
Would he record a commentary with us?
Oh my gosh. Joe has wanted to we'll talk about this.
All right.
I don't say he's wanted, but
I just got ideas brewing in my head.
Yeah,
so
I've talked to Joe. I'm like, hey, because he wants to talk about Saw all the time. so,
I think I could suck him in with the
Slumber Party Massacre 2 though is right up Joe's alley.
I'm just saying a commentary,
but it's a perfect midnight movie. It's a ton of fun.
It's wonderful.
It's honestly what it's almost perfect, like that era Corman, or like the Corman that came after what we talk about, or just
sure.
Corman in general. Another movie I want to talk about is Carnosaur. This is probably the first Roger Corman movie I ever watched. I believe he directed this one. And it's
Did he direct Carnosaur?
I believe he directed Carnosaur.
Wow.
You can correct me if I'm wrong.
I'll
yes.
check it out.
Diane Ladd is in this movie. And Diane Ladd is Laura Dern's mother, because it came out like the same year as Jurassic Park.
Which is hilarious.
And I don't think it was meant to rip off Jurassic Park. I think they went... Well, I say that, but then like Corman probably got wind that they were making a Jurassic Park movie and said, I'm going to make this Carnosaur movie in 10 days.
He did not direct Carnosaur.
Oh, he did not? Okay, I apologize.
But I believe, produced it, yes.
Yes, yeah, it was... Yes, it was a Roger Corman joint, right? Yeah. So,
yes.
No,
it was directed by Adam Simon.
Okay.
And Darren Patrick Maloney.
So 2 directors. Absolutely, I can see that. But I rented this movie because I had dinosaur fever, as one does. And it's such a schlocky, just piece of shit movie.
It's awful.
It's awful.
I have the Carnosaur trilogy on DVD.
Yeah.
I bought it from Thomas Video, which is the right place to buy Carnosaur.
That is absolutely.
They had the Thomas Video labels on them, so.
That is absolutely. Do you still have those?
Hell yeah.
Oh, my God.
You want to borrow them?
Yeah. Are they VHS?
DVD.
Okay.
DVD.
I grabbed my VHS player from home at my parents' house, so break out some VHS.
Not as good as VHS, but still.
But the thing with Carnosaur,
They're trash, though.
The thing I wanted to talk about with Carnosaur is there's a charm to it. It's a shitty movie, but there's a charm to it that I think is lacking in a lot. Even some of Corman's later work, like the shark octopus or whatever the fuck he was doing towards the end. There's a charm to it where there's not a lot of. I talked about it a little bit. There's an innocence to like Rock and Roll High School, but there's with Carnosaur like it's not that cynical. Like it doesn't feel like a cheap cash in. It is, but like
it's a cheap cash in the sense that like he knew dinosaurs were kind of hot.
Yes,
but he wasn't trying to make Jurassic Park. It was a whole thing.
What I'm trying to say is like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, like that stuff feels like, oh well, it's public domain now. Let's just make something.
I don't. Yeah.
Or even like. I don't believe the people behind Carnosaur set out to make a bad movie, is what I'm trying to say. They just made a bad movie. The people behind like Sharknado are, and I find enjoyment in the Sharknado movies. They're purposely setting out to make a bad movie.
I don't like purposefully bad movies.
Right.
I just like, I'm sure there's good ones. But I've never seen Sharknado. I don't want to watch Sharknado.
Right.
I don't want to watch Zombievers. It's not for me.
Yes.
I don't think. Maybe I'm missing out.
I haven't seen the Winnie the Pooh movie I talked about, but it feels in the same vein.
It feels that way.
Where they're like, let's do this. Like,
that's what it feels like, yeah. So I'm not trying. It's just those movies don't excite me in any way.
Right.
If a movie's bad because it just kind of turned out bad, that's funny.
Yes. And that's why you buy the Carnosaur trilogy from Thomas Video.
Yeah. All three. The third one's sweet.
Is it?
Oh, it's like an Aliens ripoff, but they have low budget Aliens marine costumes. It's so sweet. You have to see it.
Okay, I'm gonna borrow this trilogy.
You've got to watch it. I mean it.
The last movie I wanted to talk about with you is his version of the Fantastic Four.
Oh my God! There's an incredible documentary on Tubi. I'm gonna say it right now. It's called Doomed, with an exclamation point at the end, I believe. It's all about this movie. And they interviewed Corman, they interviewed the entire cast, the writer, director, so on and so forth, everybody.
Yeah.
And it's watch Doomed.
This is the type awesome. This is only the type of story that you can get when you get Roger Corman and Stan Lee together.
Yes. A couple hucksters. Yeah, this movie was made.
But you know what? Stan Lee was similar in the sense that he came from kind of like that beatnik style too. Yeah. Like in the 60s, like they are very similar when it comes to because Stan Lee did some kind of weird stuff too. And like some of it was collaborations, obviously. And some of it he took probably more credit than he deserved. But you know what I mean? Like he had a kind of out there.
Carney.
Yeah. But he also had he had kind of an out there, a sense of writing too.
He was a lot like Corman.
Yes.
You're right. He had a sense for talent in others.
Yes.
And he had a sense for but there was an artistic integrity to when he wanted to apply himself.
Mm-hmm.
When he saw opportunities to apply himself and do something beyond a product, he did it.
Yeah.
And he could seamlessly incorporate the product with the message or with the whatever. Stan and Corman were both great at that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, big yawn. Sorry. You get it.
Yeah.
But the Fantastic Four movie, that one was insane because they made a movie everybody made a legit feature length. What was supposed to be a theatrical movie.
And once again, they weren't trying to make a shitty movie here.
Well.
Or were they?
Nobody knew, but the only reason the movie was...
the people involved, I should say, directly in making the movie.
Had no idea the only reason the movie was being made was to keep the rights.
Yes, yeah.
There was never an intention to release it in any form. And remember, they had DVD and VHS copies of those at Comic-Cons for years. People are selling those.
It was almost like a holy grail. I had a ripped version off of LimeWire or yes. And I'm gonna say this. I think The Thing looks sweet in that movie.
He's awesome.
Yeah, I think cool. My first memory of this is reading comics at the time that movie was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
And they'd advertise it, and I was so pumped up, and then I remember a couple of years later, I'm did that movie ever come out? What the hell?
It did not. Yeah, not officially at least.
It just kind of left my brain completely, and then I just remember being what happened there? It was the first time it hit me that stuff like that could just happen. You could see something and it never existed actually.
Yeah. Vaporware.
And it was before the internet. I never got an answer on that movie until years down the road.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Because I remember, I would I'm what happened? Where did this movie go?
I remember seeing it VHS copies and DVD copies and stuff like that. Later on at cons, and going is this some weird fan made thing? Because it looked like that in some respects.
Yes.
And then learning later, of course, that it was legitimately a movie, but not made legitimately.
You like that or Captain America better? That 90s Captain America.
The Fantastic Four is better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Captain America is very funny. I have a Blu-ray.
I think I have a copy of that too. It might be just on DVD though.
I think there's a Is there a Blu-ray?
Is it the Blu-ray just came out?
Is it on there? Is it in there right now?
I don't see it. Oh, do you have it in alphabetical order?
Yeah. It's
Captain America Collector's Edition. I believe it's above the Marvel MCU stuff.
It is. It is the yes.
That's the one that just came out with all
Matt Salinger,
son of J.D. Salinger,
which is insane. That book sucked though. I'd rather watch Captain America 1990 or whatever than read Catcher in the Rye again.
Absolutely.
So
you ain't no punk.
Yeah. Matt Salinger's the better of the two.
Salingers.
The preferred Salinger. It's Matt.
So there you go. Hey,
we need to talk about a movie. We've got.
Yeah.
It's almost 10 o'clock.
Oh yeah. Just if you've got a favorite Roger Corman movie, let us know.
Yes. Tell us.
All right. Time Machine.
Zoop.
Here's what was on TV: The Munsters, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Gilligan's Island.
Shit.
September 16th, 1964.
That's like pure TV.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Fistful of Dollars came out. Sergio Leone and Clinton Eastwood.
It's The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, right?
Yeah. Oh, honestly, it's been so long. I have seen all of them, but it's been like 15 years at least. Oh my God, it's been longer than that.
Yeah.
I do remember that being my favorite one. The Supremes single "Baby Love" was released this month, and this was the findings of the Warren Commission into the assassination of John F. Kennedy were released.
Ah, yes.
Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone. Do you believe that?
And I don't know. Yeah. Probably.
Sure, why not?
I don't. You know why? Because I don't care. It sucks. I don't like that he got killed. It's a bummer, but also it doesn't affect me at this juncture. So
this movie's 60 years old. That we're about to talk about.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have not been back this far in a while. That was a lame time machine sound. I'm going to do it again.
Don't rush through this. I got time. If you got time, I got the time.
Yeah, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah, let's give the Masque of the Red Death its proper. we went so long on that tiny terror. A European prince terrorizes the local peasantry while using the castle as a refuge against the Red Death plague that stalks the land. This is Masque of the Red Death, directed by Roger Corman, written by Charles Beaumont, who wrote a bunch of Twilight Zone episodes.
Oh, wow.
R. Wright Campbell also wrote on this, who I believe also probably wrote a bunch of Twilight Zone.
I'm sure.
Richard Matheson worked with him as well. Corman at the time a lot as well. Edgar Allan Poe is credited. I'm glad he fought for that credit. Was there WGA arbitration on that? This stars Vincent Price, Hazel Court, and Jade Asher. General thoughts on the movie, Willie? This is the first time watching it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think I've seen. Corman did, I think, 5 or 6.
Just a second. I've got the exact number here.
5 or 6 adaptations of Poe's stories.
So I think it's 8. Okay, we're gonna name them off here.
There's 8. Oh my goodness.
House of Usher, Pit and the Pendulum.
Yeah.
Tales of Terror, Premature Burial, The Raven, which is like a comedy. It's not based on the Poe movie at all, or the Poe story at all. The Haunted Palace, so we're at 6. Masque of the Red Death, Tomb of Ligeia.
Am I correct in saying that at this point in time, you might not know, but that Poe's stuff had become what's the term? You mentioned it with Winnie the Pooh. Anybody could make a version of it, right?
Public domain?
Public domain, yes. It had to have been.
I
wasn't paying for these.
Yeah, I would think so. You're probably right. And the other thing too is he mentions it too. Everybody read Poe in high school. That's the thing is teenagers knew Poe, like Edgar Allan Poe, because they were reading him in high schools at the time.
Right.
And
it was cool. It was it was like the cure for
1960s teens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Read some Poe. You'll get mopey. Yeah. I have not seen any of those. it? 8? Oh my God. Adaptations of Corman's. This is my first, I think.
This is one of the last ones, yeah.
I don't think I've seen any of the other ones. Like, full disclosure, I don't think I've seen any other Corman Poe adaptation. This is it.
I've seen 4. Watched them in college. Yeah. I had not watched. This is the second time watching this. I had watched this in college.
So you've got more insight certainly than I do in terms of like going into this. But this is my first time seeing this film. I've certainly seen Vincent Price before.
Yes.
In many projects. Look, I'll say this. I was immensely impressed by the production, considering the kind of reputation of Corman. Love Corman, but like there's a reputation there. Like, this is a good-looking movie. This is a well-made movie. It's well directed. It's well shot. It's well dressed. It's a really, really good-looking film. And I mean, Vincent Price never misses. Like, the guy, I mean, I've never seen a bad Vincent Price performance. I've seen like at least 70% of his performance is basically the same character, but they're all good, so it doesn't matter. I had fun with this, and is it for me to say, is it the best Corman? I'd have to look through his entire director filmography and say for sure. It's a strong film. It works. Vincent Price is really good, and he kind of makes the movie. But the production design is really good too. Like that stood out to me. It's like the look at the film really works for me. It feels vibrant. It feels there's a nice balance between anytime we're dealing with the haves and the have-nots. The haves, it's colorful. It's, like I said, vibrant. There's a sense of it's shot dynamically. Anytime we're dealing with the have-nots, it's very matte and very static. And I think that's purposeful. And I think that shows that Corman certainly had an eye for direction, regardless of what he would do later on or what his reputation became. He had an eye for direction. I think he knew what he was doing. So, yeah, I was impressed by it. Fun movie.
Good. I'm glad to hear that, because part of the reason I chose this one, too, is I wanted to talk a little about Roger Corman because he passed. I think his reputation has become one of kind of the Schlockmaster, yeah. Kind of more known for the business side of Hollywood,
which is fair. I mean, the guy
definitely fair. Yes, yeah, because I mean that's what he talks about. He talks about money all the time. I mean, he talks about he's only had one movie. I think Intruder is what he says. Only one movie that never made money or didn't make money. He lost money on.
Yeah.
And then he says he turned a profit on that at some point too. But like he's constantly talking about money, and it almost kind of bums me out because this Poe period. A lot of these movies are like this movie.
Yeah.
And it feels like an actual artist coming through at this point.
And you can feel that, yeah.
Yes. And it's ambitious. And it's about something. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a big Edgar Allan Poe guy. I'm
not either.
Yeah. I've read his work. I'm no expert. And I'm no Roger Corman expert. But I wanted to pick this one because I wanted to talk about, because I do want to highlight it as because it unfortunately feels like the peak of his like directing career.
I know. After this, it becomes kind of
he falls into, I think, a trap.
Businessman territory.
Businessman. I wouldn't say trap because he made a lot of money, but like this is the stuff that I think marries what we were talking about, both the business and the artistry. I think he's a good director, and like
I know,
yeah, and I think he does good work here. And it's also like I really dig this movie because I like a lot of these '60s movies. Especially this one because it's about a guy who's above the law, who thinks he's above the law, and Prince Prospero, and it's about the world crumbling down around him. And there's also some like weird, surrealist, like almost druggy sequences in this too.
There are sequences that remind me of The Devil's Reign.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yes. Yeah. And Corman's this weird guy too, who is like you see him and he's very straight laced, very proper in a lot of ways. Yeah. Midwestern guy, came from Detroit. We'll talk about that. I want to talk about that a little bit later. Yeah. His Detroit roots, but like he's also a guy who would he dropped acid with Jack Nicholson to help make a movie, so he could experience. Awesome. Yeah, so he could experience that and. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. He talks about the Freudian stuff, and the repression and all that. Let's get into it a little bit. I wanted to talk about a couple things with you.
Sure.
About the movie. We talked a little bit about where he was at as a filmmaker. This movie, I believe this is like one of the longer shooting times he had. He had like 4 weeks of shooting time on this one.
Yeah.
Or 5 weeks.
Yeah. What?
Like
a week?
Yeah. Well,
10 days.
I think the Little Shop of Horrors, he says he directed in 2 days. His version of Little Shop.
No.
Yes, he said he directed it as
That's
a
insane.
lark. Yeah, he directed the movie in 3 days. He just wanted to show he could do it.
Wow. Sorry.
They go into this, so he's working with AIP at the time, and most of these star Vincent Price, who we talked about, but Samuel Zarkoff came to him and he said he wanted to do a horror picture, and he said he wanted to do it. He wanted to do the Poe. He wanted to do House of the Usher, House of Usher.
Yes.
And Arkoff at the time the monster movies were big, and he's like, "Where's the monster in this?" And then Corman says, "The house is the monster." And so that kind of stuff kind of carries in the Masque of the Red Death too, because that
there is
setting,
no monster per se in the film. Yeah, right.
So the other thing too is I do think a lot of these movies are all about the vibes too. This is a very vibe heavy movie. It's immersive, and it's not supposed to be realistic a lot of the times.
It's fantasy.
A lot of times. Yeah, it is a fantasy.
For sure.
I also want to talk about someone who adds to that, and that's Vincent Price.
Well, Vincent Price is a legend for a reason. Mm-hmm. So he is able to, in everything I've ever seen him in, and I by no means have I seen every Vincent Price performance. I am not the encyclopedia of Price, but in everything I've ever seen him in, he's so able to just absolutely suck you into whatever he's doing, even though he's oftentimes kind of over the top and very of that time period, very, very theatrical.
Mm-hmm.
His cadence and his delivery and his earnestness in his performances make you go, this is a real person who exists, or did exist. He's so believable as a performer, even though he's very theatrical, you know, and that's tough. That's not an easy thing to do. But Vincent Price pulls it off. I mean, it's funny, but you look at the there's a lot of elements that make it work, but the Thriller music video, right?
Yeah.
Incredible direction from John Landis, and I don't like to give that guy too much credit, but it's true. Amazing makeup effects, amazing dance choreography.
Was that Rick Baker on Thriller?
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing dance choreography from either Michael Jackson or his whatever.
Yep.
Fun performances, but at the end of the day, when I think of Thriller, I think of that Vincent Price voiceover.
Yes.
That's the thing that makes that whole thing work. It's that's the power he had. That's the he had that it. I don't know. And
he was in all but one of these movies in the Poe cycle.
That's right. Which one was the one that was he was not in? God, I looked this up. He was in Pit and the Pendulum, I believe. He was in 90% of these movies. Yeah, all but one. I put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
Honestly, I don't know the answer off the top of my head, so it's okay. But a couple of other fun facts about it, like, so he had actually at the time sworn off making horror movies after The Fly. He couldn't keep a straight face on the set, but Roger Corman came to him and wanted him to play Roderick Usher, and it was too good of a role to pass down. I'm sure Roger came with some money as well in his back pocket, but I think he is the reason I think this movie and the movies I've seen him in on the post cycle, they work so well because there is a touch of absurdity to it, but it's also, like you mentioned, that voice, and I think that voice works really well, especially in something like a Poe film where it is based on a story, and you kind of like hearing that in kind of like an old time like a storyteller type way. And there's also a little bit. There's a little bit of hucksterism in old Vincent Price as well. Like they had him show up in like a beach party movie. I posted this clip in our Discord. It's a really fun clip. He shows up at the end of Al's beach party.
Oh my goodness!
And he shows up and he's like comatose, and he pops back up. And he says a line. It's promoting the Pit and the Pendulum. I'm gonna bring it up real quick because he says. Bring me my pendulum, kiddies. I feel like swinging. And like all these like beach party kids at the time are like dancing around, and it's just like, oh, whoa.
Oh my.
Yeah. So,
that's
but there is that kind of that tongue-in-cheek aspect, and I think it works really well. And it also works really well because a lot of these movies are supposed to there's a surrealism to them, and like you mentioned, he grounds them in reality, but not quite that much because he is so overwrought in some ways and so over the top. Yeah,
it's a cinematic reality,
right?
So that's the thing is like there's a there's an art form to that. There's like you can make it feel like cinema, and you can make it feel like art. You can make it feel like you're watching something that people collectively created, but also make it feel like it could exist in some universe, in some version of the world we live in. Like, so I think it's tough to pull off, and I think that like Vincent Price has always been able to do that, and I think that Corman's able to do that in this film. So yeah,
The Premature Burial was the one that he did not star in.
That's the one. Yes, thank you.
So the other thing I want to talk a couple more things here. He's throwing an orgy here, is what's happening, right?
Yeah, I mean they bone.
This ties into kind of the hammerism of the time where a lot of the sexuality is implied, but it is heavy. This is Hollywood. I think what this is a Hollywood orgy.
Yeah, they're all getting down. There's a lot of pointy bosoms in the film.
A lot of heaving cleavage. Yes.
Yes.
You told me you were watching this. Oh no, I don't want to say it. Never mind.
Yeah,
I
was concerned about
You were concerned about where you were watching it at the time.
The environment in which I was watching it. I texted you.
Yes.
And asked, "Hey, is there anything in this that I should I wait?
Yeah.
Until I'm somewhere else to watch this." And I was safe. It was safe enough. But yes, a lot of implied sexuality, a lot of implied hedonism. But that's kind of the story. Masque the Red Death deals with some of those things. It deals with kind of the excess of those that have, and the demented and nasty things they can get into with the power and influence and money that they have available to them. We see a lot of this here.
Yeah.
And Vincent Price relishes in that.
Mm-hmm.
That Prospero, that...
You know who he feels like? He feels like a Hollywood mogul. Like he feels like to me, he feels like a lot of this feels like a Hollywood satire in some ways.
Yes, and Corman was around these people.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it didn't get any better for a long time. I hope it's better now.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, like this is like Prospero's like Weinstein.
Yes, yeah. No, that's what I was thinking the whole time. That's it.
Which is funny because Corman, of course, cameos in Scream 3.
And there is a little bit of a... yes, he does, doesn't he? Yeah.
Which was produced by...
Yeah, Weinstein.
Which features a subplot about... nasty Hollywood orgies that...
Yeah.
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 There's a lot going on.
Yeah, and and honestly, the is it Francesca and Juliana?
Yes.
There's a little bit of an old actress, young starlet thing. Like, feels like she's being replaced there.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yep. A little bit.
And then she goes on to, she has her big drug induced scene where she's like floating around and stuff. And then she says like she's Prospero's senior now, like she's the superior.
Yes.
And Prospero's like, no,
No, you're not.
this is the patriarchy,
Right.
motherfucker.
Right.
No, I will forever be in charge of you. So there is a
And
lot
then he
of
learns
that.
that, like, oh, everybody gets sick someday. You're gonna die, bitch. Like,
Yes. Yeah, that's the thing is like all this money, all this power, like it leads to the same.
you
place
worship
for everybody.
Satan, it ain't gonna help you.
But that's
You're
also,
still gonna get tuberculosis or whatever other nasty thing.
We're
Yeah.
all going to die of this terrible disease.
Sorry.
So yeah, and it's about selling your soul to the devil too, which is kind of like an old Hollywood trope, if you will. Like,
Yeah, and it's about the folly of man. It's about the folly of thinking that you're superior to somebody because of your belief system too.
right. There is a lot of like, I'm maybe reading a little bit too, but Corman's a Midwestern guy. I assume maybe grew up in a God-fearing household.
Sure.
And Prospero's definitely like a godless type. Like there is a definite like guy moves to the coast and gets a bunch of like godless heathens that just want to throw sex parties all the time and do
He
drugs.
falls apart. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Right. So maybe I don't want to say this is autobiographical, but like I think you could.
He bleeds from his orifices.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway,
there's a lot going on in this movie section.
there is. Honestly, there is.
But it's all implied, which I think is kind of fun.
None of it's overt. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
The look of the movie. So we talked a little bit about Hammer. This looks like a Hammer movie that was being produced at the time when the kind of like that Technicolor.
Yeah, the look. Yeah, it's a little bit more.
I think Eastman color is what this is preferred to.
Yeah,
it's not quite as.
Hammers could be a little more dreary than this.
Mm-hmm.
The colors were bright when they popped in, but there was a little less color.
The blood is what popped in the Hammer movies for me.
That blood is like
The other thing that I think too, the look that this was inspired of at the time is this is when the Giallo movies were kind of taking hold as well, and I think I can see
similarities.
Yeah, I think you can see that here as well.
Yep.
This was shot by Nicholas Roeg, who was the cinematographer. He would do Walkabout, Don't Look Now, The Man Who Fell to Earth, which I believe is the David Bowie film.
Yes.
He directed that, and he directed The Witches. Remember the
Don't
Roald
Look Now
Dahl?
was great too, by the way. Donald Sutherland.
Yeah.
Freaky movie.
So yeah.
Yeah. And then The Witches with Angelica
Houston, yeah.
That was like 90 something.
I think that was my favorite Roald Dahl book as a kid. I loved The Witches.
Cool book.
Yeah.
Freaky movie.
It was so freaky.
Man.
Like, that movie freaked me out as a kid.
Yeah.
We watched that in school one time, and I was like,
why are we watching this?
Yeah,
yeah. It felt dangerous. Yeah. Cool stuff. Yeah. That's awesome.
We've talked a little about, the hallucinations and the haunted flashbacks, and I think that's where I think Corman kind of shines there, or whoever helped him shoot that.
Yeah.
But Nicholas
They're acid
Roeg,
trips. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, and we've talked about him.
Best way.
Yeah, he's admitted to doing acid with this elevated AIP as far as their look, these Poe movies, because all of them kind of have a better look. We talk than what they had produced and would produce. A lot of them, they're kind of a poverty row picture house.
Yeah.
Freud deals with a lot of like dreams and hallucinations, and Corman talks about Freud a lot when it comes to.
He gets brought up in this movie, I believe.
Does he?
Briefly. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I believe so. Freud gets name dropped, I think. Yeah.
Like a lot of old white guys, Corman has obsession
Even though,
with
Freud was like post this
Yeah.
time period, right?
No, Freud was before this.
Was he?
Yeah. Sigmund Freud? Let's see when that bad boy.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I mean, he was before the movie, but like wasn't Poe pre-Freud?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I think he gets name. I think somebody says Freud at some point in this movie.
Do they?
I swear. Maybe I'm wrong.
I believe you. Well, that's a Corman touch because he was obsessed with Freud.
Yeah.
I'm not obsessed with Freud anymore.
No.
I think
He's a wacko.
I get tired of bringing him up. I just wanted to bring him up because I think
It's
important.
exhausting.
It's exhausting. Like, yeah, I know.
He wanted to bone his mom. We know. Let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, he died like almost 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's time to move on.
Let's move on. We've discovered more stuff since Freud.
Calm down.
This is what I'm going to talk to you about, though, but to wrap this up, because I think this is an important look at Corman as a filmmaker and maybe as a person. Roger Corman grew up in the city of Detroit. Grew up on 6 Mile Road and Woodward Avenue.
Okay. Been there. Yeah.
Yes. 6 Mile is, you know what? 6 Mile's rough, isn't it? No.
It's not good. No.
6 and 7 are where you want to.
I tutored a few years back.
Okay.
On 6.5 and Shaner.
Yeah.
It's not a good area.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Yes, it's not. No.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's a rough area. I was the woman who ran the organization I was tutoring for saw me walking from my car to the building, and I parked probably 6 feet from the building, and she ran out and goes, "Are you lost?" She was concerned about me. So, yeah.
Different back then, though, because this was around the time when the auto industry was taking hold. When Roger was going up, and he would go to the like the RKO Uptown Theater, and he would go watch
Different Beast.
Yep, science fiction movies, matinees, and stuff. But yeah, Different Beast. His father was a civil engineer. He designed a bridge at Greenfield Village for him. I don't know which bridge. I assume you and I have been.
There's a few.
Yeah, you and I have been to Greenfield Village many times. Do you think it's the one that with the top on it?
I like to think so. Yeah.
Me too. I'm just gonna say it because that's the one they decorate all the time for Halloween.
We'll go with that.
One more connection we talked about. Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola, was his assistant, and he would, of course, he was also from Detroit. But what I want to talk about is this with Roger is he grew up in Detroit, and one of the things that he was actually going to be, he went to school, I believe, for industrial engineering. He went out to the West. He went to Stanford for a little bit, and he was going to major in industrial engineering. That's what he studied. And one of the things that comes along with that, and something he mentions many times, 2 words that come up a lot. One word in particular is efficiency and management.
That's the filmmaking style.
And that is absolutely, if you look at his career and if you compare it to the auto industry, that is absolutely what they are going for.
Little artistic flair here and there.
Yep.
But
yes, sometimes you can go out and make a fancy car. I don't know, what's a fancy car these days? A Ferrari?
I don't know.
A GTO?
Nothing I can afford.
Hey, a GTO. Like, let's go with GTO, right?
That.
That's a fancy car from back in the day.
Go with that. I like that.
But most of the time, you're making a Pinto.
You're making something that's going to work.
Something that's going to get you from point A to point B.
Make you some money.
Yes. And that's what Roger did a lot of the time.
That's really amazing, yeah.
He says he got a job at U.S. Electrical Motors. He started on Monday, didn't like it, went in on Thursday and said, "This is a mistake. I have to leave." And that's when he went to. He was like a script supervisor, essentially on movies, and he basically sat there and he went while he was watching it. He was taking notes. He's like, "I can make this more efficiently and cheaper."
That's so sweet.
Yes. So
what a boss.
Yeah. So that is, I think, that is what sums up his career.
My mic fell down. That's perfect.
Yeah,
that's it. I mean, like that's Corman in a nutshell. Like he had an artistic mind. Like, and I think that is something that gets lost. You mentioned that too. Like, he does deserve his. He doesn't deserve praise just for like who he was able to introduce to Hollywood or who he was able to like be a first chance for. Like, yes, that's amazing. Like, and clearly he had an eye for talent, but like. The guy was talented himself, too. He just also had to be a pretty good businessman, and oftentimes the businessman part kind of went out.
And you look, all right. And you look at his filmmaking model, and you see it. You know where you see it is you see it with Marvel. You see it with the MCU. They started their whole thing kind of similarly with like how he started with AIP with a 3-picture deal.
Yeah,
where they put up like collateral and said like,
"We're gonna make Iron Man and Incredible Hulk and Thor."
Yes, and if those don't work out.
We're screwed.
But if they do, we'll make the Avengers.
And they did.
Yes. And you do. And for better for worse, it's kind of assembly line filmmaking. And Marvel's similar in how they do things. They do things on like a green screen.
Yep.
And and Disney does the same thing with the Star Wars feature. What's that thing called? The Volume?
Yes. Yep.
It's not dissimilar from Corman just reusing sets.
Not saying it's good, bad, or anything, but it works.
So his influence can be seen on some of the biggest movies in the world.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted to say about Roger.
That's a testament.
Yes. And I wanted to bring up Detroit because Yeah, that's the audio industry too. It seeps into your bones.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yep. So there you go.
Awesome.
Any last words?
No. R.I.P. Roger Corman. Great. Bro.
Yeah.
How old is he? 90.
It was 97. I think was when he passed.
You did all right, Roger.
Yeah, quite the life.
Not too shabby.
So, all right, we will be next. Stay tuned for our instant
Yes.
reaction, and then we will say on that instant reaction what we're going to do.
Yes.
If we're gonna want to go more in depth,
we'll figure it out
on that movie,
Yep.
or if we want to just say
it's very dependent on thinking on how we feel about the movie.
Yeah, because
Which is fun because we don't know yet.
We could just be, even if we like it, we just be like, I think we said our piece.
Yeah, we could have. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
the thing is like I'm going into this movie and I'm excited because I don't know how I'm gonna feel. So
In a Violent Nature, instant reaction will be
check it out. Yeah.
this weekend.
Yep.
And all right, take care, everybody.